Ethereum was supposed to be completely decentralized, right? I mean, the whole idea is that you send a transaction, validators confirm it, and the blockchain records the result for all to see. It's supposed to be simple, transparent, fair. But the reality? Beneath that visible surface, a massive hidden system is now deciding exactly which transactions get prioritized, reordered, delayed, or even exploited way before they ever make it into a block. The public blockchain that you and I look at every day is honestly just the exhaust pipe of a much larger, invisible industrial engine. Welcome to this explainer. Today we are pulling back the curtain on one of the most fascinating and, quite frankly, misunderstood systems in modern tech. So let's totally shatter this public illusion. When you hit send on a transaction, you probably picture a nice straight line. Your request goes to a validator and boom, it's safely in the next block. But I want you to imagine time completely freezing the exact millisecond you click send. If we zoom way in on that frozen fraction of a second, that clean public view just falls apart. What actually exists in that tiny gap of time is a hidden reality. It is an invisible, high-frequency industrial block economy. Down there in the shadows, algorithms are waging literal algorithmic warfare, making lightning-fast economic decisions about your specific transaction. Now, before we dive deeper into how this hidden economy actually operates, I need to pause for a quick official note. This video on the channel Blocks, Bonds, Funds is created for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute financial or investment advice. Okay, to really understand this hidden world, we have to start right where your transaction first lands, which is the mempool. But you have to stop thinking of the mempool as some safe, orderly waiting room. Researchers famously dubbed the public mempool the dark forest. It's a nod to that sci-fi concept where the universe is just full of hidden predators, and simply revealing your location means certain death. Well, in the Ethereum dark forest, the absolute second your transaction appears, it is instantly scanned, parsed, and analyzed by highly advanced automated bots. And if these bots detect even the slightest weakness or profit opportunity in your trade, they are going to pounce. So, what exactly are these bots hunting for in the dark? It's called maximal extractable value, or MEV. In plain English, MEV is the pure profit that can be extracted just by manipulating how transactions are ordered, inserted, or excluded inside a block. Because the state of the blockchain is changing literally by the millisecond, the exact sequence of transactions dictates the exact prices of assets on decentralized exchanges. And here's the kicker. These predatory bots aren't actually breaking the rules of Ethereum. No, they're just aggressively, ruthlessly optimizing within them, and they're extracting that value straight from the pockets of regular users interacting with a network. Let me show you exactly what this extraction looks like on the ground, using probably the most notorious MEV strategy out there, the sandwich attack. Say you want to buy a big chunk of a certain token. An MEV bot sees your pending order sitting there in the dark forest. Instantly, the bot pays a higher fee to jump right in front of you. They front-run your trade, buying the token first, which artificially pumps the price up. Then, your trade is forced to execute at this new, terrible price. And finally, the bot backruns you, immediately selling the tokens it just bought for a totally risk-free profit. It sounds like a neat little trick, but in reality, your wallet just got sandwiched. Now, take that one sandwich attack and multiply it by thousands of different bots all viciously fighting over the exact same opportunities. What you get are priority gas auctions. Bots started engaging in these brutal automated bidding wars, operating in fractions of a millisecond. Faster than you can even blink, they were constantly raising the transaction fees they were willing to pay just to guarantee their front run was the one that succeeded. This completely flooded the Ethereum network with automated spam. It drove up costs for absolutely everyone else. This predatory environment wasn't just some annoying bug. It became a literal existential crisis for the stability and the scaling of the entire blockchain. Because the system was basically breaking down, it forced a massive evolution in how the blockchain actually works. Enter proposer-builder separation, or PBS. To stop the absolute chaos happening in the public mempool, the community, heavily guided by research from an organization called Flashbots, did something radical. They essentially sliced the validator's job right in half. Instead of having validators do everything, from picking transactions to proposing the block, PBS formally separates the entity proposing the block from highly specialized entities who actually build the block. And this separation, it birthed a brand new, insanely specialized supply chain. These are the invisible actors that are actually running the show today. First up, you have searchers. These are the algorithmic bots hunting for MEV, but instead of brawling in the public mempool, they secretly package their trades into what are called bundles. They send these bundles over to builders. Now, builders act like massive industrial-scale block factories. They aggregate thousands of bundles and public transactions to construct the absolute most profitable block mathematically possible. Then we have relays, which act as invisible, trusted communication pipes. And finally, the proposers. These are your standard Ethereum validators, and their job is now almost comically simple. They just blindly sign whichever block pays them the most money. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, this sounds like some super niche, experimental workaround, you really need to hear this next number. Roughly 90% of all Ethereum blocks today are created through this exact, hidden, off-chain supply chain, primarily relying on a piece of software called MEV Boost. Almost the entire global network has quietly, implicitly opted into this specialized industrial block factory system. It is the new normal. But here's the obvious question. How do these builders and proposers actually trust each other? I mean, builders are fiercely protective of their winning block strategies. If a builder shows a validator their fully built block before it's officially signed, the validator could just steal all that MEV for themselves, right? That is exactly where relays step in as mediators. The builder sends their block to a relay. The relay acts as a trusted escrow. It verifies the block is legit, calculates the payout, and then only shows the proposer the block header and the total profit. The proposer signs it blindly. Only after that cryptographic signature is locked in does the relay release the full block contents to the network. So when you put all these pieces together, the crucial takeaway is literally this. Every single Ethereum block is secretly auctioned off to the highest bidder in the tiny milliseconds before it is created. Searchers are constantly bidding to builders. Builders are fiercely bidding to proposers. The blockchain we thought was just a simple peer-to-peer ledger has fundamentally transformed into a continuous, hyper-efficient, real-time financial auction operating entirely in the shadows. Okay, but you might be looking at this highly specialized, highly efficient supply chain and thinking, wait a second, isn't this exactly what we were trying to avoid? Isn't this centralized? It's a huge paradox. Ethereum originally separated these roles to protect regular validators from needing massive supercomputers just to compete for MEV, which successfully saved validator decentralization. But in doing so, they accidentally engineered a massive brand new centralization risk right at the builder and relay layers. Because if only a tiny handful of elite mega builders are winning all these silent auctions, who actually controls the ledger? Make no mistake, these risks are incredibly severe, and we are watching them play out in real time. First, we have builder dominance. We're seeing an oligopoly of highly capitalized builders winning the vast majority of blocks simply because they have exclusive access to the best private order flow. Then there's relay concentration. Literally just a handful of relay operators are routing 90% of all Ethereum traffic. And this centralization leads straight to censorship risks. Major relays and builders have actually filtered out transactions to comply with U.S. government OFAC sanctions, basically blocking specific users from the chain entirely. Plus, because these relays are trusted third parties, they are huge single points of failure. Just look at 2023, when an attacker famously known as the low-carb crusader exploited a tiny vulnerability in relay software to unbundle sandwich attacks, walking away with over $20 million. The Ethereum research community is hyper-aware that this current setup relies way too heavily on these vulnerable, trusted middlemen. So, the proposed future is a shift toward trust-minimized enshrined protocols, specifically something called enshrined PBS, or ePBS. The goal of ePBS is to take this entire auction mechanism and bake it directly into the base Ethereum protocol itself. By modifying the actual consensus layer, the protocol can handle all that escrow and trust mathematically, which completely removes the need for those third-party relays and closes a massive centralization loophole. But fixing the relays is only half the battle. Researchers are looking even further ahead to solve the problem of those mega centralized builders. And that brings us to SWAV. SWAV stands for the Single Unifying Auction for Value Expression. While EBBS aims to fix the relay problem, SWAV aims to completely decentralize the builder role itself. It's essentially a separate, privacy-preserving coordination layer designed to act as a decentralized mempool and block builder. By leveraging advanced cryptography, SWAV aims to let you express your transaction intent privately, meaning your trades are totally hidden from those predators in the dark forest, while allowing a decentralized network of actors to collaboratively build blocks. No more relying on a few dominant mega builders to sequence everything. Which brings us to our final lingering thought. That clean, transparent Ethereum interface you see in your digital wallet, it's kind of an illusion. It is merely the final, settled output of a vastly more complex, invisible economy humming underneath. We're talking about an ecosystem of predatory bots, industrial block factories, hidden communication pipes, and ruthless millisecond auctions. As the network races to upgrade toward things like eBPS and SWAV, we have to stop and ask ourselves, if the public blockchain is really just the printed receipt of an invisible, high-stakes auction, who is actually building the future of our digital civilization? It's the multi-billion-dollar question the entire industry is currently racing to answer. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and remember to always question what's operating beneath the surface.